Happy holidays! For those unfamiliar, icebergs are charts that display trivia and more about a piece of media. The deeper it goes, the more obscure and disturbing the facts get. Today we look at the Home Alone iceberg, created by True Medium Eye. Home Alone is the Christmas classic about a kid named Kevin McAllister, whose family accidentally leaves him behind when they go on Christmas vacation. Kevin now must learn to appreciate his family and defend his house from two bumbling burglars. The film is a beloved classic that spawned 5 sequels, and today we talk about it. So, let's begin. It's a Christmas movie. Home Alone is a Christmas movie thanks to the Christmas music,
Run, run, Rudolph!
You're rotten, Mr. Grinch.
I'm dreaming of a wife. Have yourself
the Christmas atmosphere, and the entire film taking place a few days before and the morning of Christmas.
But what was interesting about the whole look of this film, I guess we can talk about it a little bit. You'll even notice some people will think, well, this wasn't intentional, but we intended the film to feel like Christmas, sort of. I wanted the house to feel very warm. You look
Greens
at
and reds.
Macaulay's wearing a green and red shirt. There's a green and red jumper sweater on this guy back here. The wallpaper is
That's very clever.
all conveying a warmth of Christmas and something that it was interesting to us. So it wouldn't be too far over the top, but it would feel warm. I wanted the house to feel like a warm place.
Die Hard also has all of these things. John Hughes. John Hughes was the writer of Home Alone, Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, and Home Alone 3. Before this, he wrote and/or directed multiple 80s teen movies. Unfortunately, in 2009, he died of a heart attack at the age of 59. Rest in peace. Somewhere in my memory. Somewhere in my memory is the main theme of the Home Alone series. It's present during 1, 2, and Home Sweet Home Alone. Of course, it's not the only iconic piece of music from this franchise, but it's still excellent. The Traps. The Traps are a hallmark of the series. Each movie has traps, and there's usually a trap-making montage before the third act begins. The montages are sometimes accompanied by the fittingly titled song, Setting the Trap. It's time for a montage of every single Home Alone trap. Skip to this time code if you don't want to watch.
house is haunted. The ghost knows we're coming.
Oh, really? Did the ghost use that bucket, too?
Wait, just stop! We can talk! We can talk about this rationally! So easy on the soda, okay?
Where am I?
Macaulay Culkin drug scandal. Macaulay Culkin is the name of the actor who played Kevin in Home Alone 1 and 2. After the first movie became the third highest grossing film of 1990, Culkin was launched into stardom. He appeared in more movies, TV shows, commercials, and award shows. Unfortunately, he had a troubled family life. Now, this is a subject that I actually don't feel qualified talking about, so I'd recommend looking up a video that goes into this topic much better than I can. However, I can safely say that Macaulay Culkin seems to be doing fine now. The kid's current age. Actor Macaulay Culkin is now 42. Kevin was 9 in Home Alone 1, 10 in Home Alone 2, and 9 in Home Alone 4. Wait a minute. As for every other Home Alone protagonist, Alex D. Linz is 33, Mike Weinberg is 29, Christian Martin is 22, and Archie Yates is 13. The Wet and/or Sticky Bandits. No, that's not a porn parody. The Wet Bandits were Harry, Marv, Vera, and Molly. Before Molly and Vera joined, Marv and Harry planned to rob every house on a street, with the McAllister residence being the grand finale. For every break-in, Marv left the water running as a mark to show who did it. When the Wet Bandits arrive at the house, they discover that somebody is there. They later discover that this somebody is in fact a child. Marv and Harry thought they should just take off with what they already have, until they found out that the child was alone by himself. After discovering this, they plotted to rob the house at 9 p.m. The Wet Bandits thought this would be easy, since after all, the only resident is a mere child. But they grossly underestimated him. The child set up a bunch of traps for them, causing the robbers to become hostile. Even when the kid leaves the house, with them still inside, Marv and Harry still decide to go after him. Eventually, the child is cornered in a house across the street. Unfortunately for the Wet Bandits, the neighbor who lives in the house next door is there with a shovel. The bandits are then subdued by the neighbor and taken by the police. Due to Marv's mark of leaving the sink on, the police now know each and every house that was robbed by the Wet Bandits. A year later, the bandits escape during a prison riot. They then hitch a ride on a fish truck that takes them to New York City. With the power of double-sided tape, Marv steals money from a Santa Claus. This gives him the idea to change their name.
We're the Sticky Bandits.
The Sticky Bandits then come up with the idea to rob Duncan's toy chest, buy a plane ticket, and run. While casing the store, either by coincidence or fate, they come across the same kid that got them in trouble last time. Harry, consumed by vengeance, attempts to do something, but then the kid screams and runs. The Sticky Bandits then run after him and eventually catch him outside of the Plaza Hotel. But the child escapes their grasp again. They don't bother chasing him because Marv points out that they're in New York City. While they don't 100% know why he's here, they know that he was supposed to go to Florida originally, meaning that this isn't his home, therefore he doesn't have a home full of equipment, and the Sticky Bandits aren't robbing him. So the plan continues as normal. But unexpectedly, the child is at the toy store as well, and takes a photograph of them at the register. Marv and Harry now know that if that picture gets in the hands of the police, their whereabouts will be discovered. So they chase after the child in an attempt to retrieve the photos. After going through even deadlier traps than last time, the Sticky Bandits catch him. But before they kill him, a homeless woman throws birdseed on them, causing the nearby birds to attack! At this moment, the Sticky Bandits learn the child's name.
Kevin, run!
Due to Kevin calling the police earlier, the cops show up just in time to arrest Marv and Harry. An unspecified amount of time passes, and the Sticky Bandits break up. Marv is now working with his wife, Vera, and his mother, Molly. Because of his past, Marv is now obsessed with asserting his authority as the boss, despite not actually being the boss.
Who's the boss?
You're the boss.
Where's the boss?
Right here.
Because I'm the boss. Get in the bag, Vera. You want me to go show him who's boss?
Sit down, Marv. You're not the boss. I'm the boss.
Marv, Vera, and Molly come up with a plan to kidnap a prince. While casing the house the prince will visit, Marv and Vera are thwarted by Kevin. Marv realizes he has to prepare harder because Kevin always stops him. Marv and Vera infiltrate the house, disguised as chefs, only to be thwarted by Kevin. After this, Molly assists by locking the butler, named Prescott, and Kevin in the basement. But Kevin and Prescott manage to escape and put a stop to their evil doing. Marv and Vera try to escape, only to be thwarted by Kevin's siblings. Marv, Vera, and Molly are then taken into custody. As of right now, the Sticky Bandits' whereabouts are unknown. Lost in New York, the second film. 2 years after the original 1990 hit, a sequel was released. The sequel had a higher budget, but lower returns. Taking place a year after the previous movie, Home Alone 2 follows the McAllisters on a Christmas vacation. Due to multiple contrivances, Kevin ends up on the plane to New York instead of Florida. Kevin now has to face the dangers of New York and the same burglars as last time. This is actually the only Home Alone film where the main child isn't home when he's alone. Despite this movie being just as, if not more iconic than the first film, and Tim Curry, this movie isn't quite as beloved as the first. Plenty of people like it, but plenty of people hate it as well. The general consensus is that this is the second best movie in the whole series. Despite this, there's still many lines from this film quoted a lot around the holidays.
Credit card, you got it.
Don't count your chips in public.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Have a lovely day.
Mr. McAllister, here's your very own cheese pizza.
Kevin's screaming face. The first Home Alone features one of the most iconic shots in all of cinema. This clip would be referenced over and over in subsequent films, parodies, and collages of cinema. The face could be a reference to the famous Scream painting.
There it is.
There it
the
is.
The face that launched 1,000 posters. I never expected that to be it was Joe Roth at Fox who came up with that image,
Yeah.
And realized that should be the iconic poster.
Trump cameo. Second film. Donald Trump was the host of The Apprentice and used to be the President of the United States. Before he attempted to run, he had a cameo in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York.
Excuse me, where's the lobby?
Down the hall and to the left.
Thanks.
The reason he's here is because the hotel that they were filming at, both in-universe and out-of-universe, was the world-renowned Plaza Hotel.
Yeah, apparently if you give the owner a cameo, you can use any of his buildings for your movies.
It's unclear if Donald Trump is supposed to be playing himself or just some random guy who happens to look like him. Home Sweet Home Alone. Oh boy. It seems that every decade past 1990 has to have at least one of these films. In 2019, Disney acquired 20th Century Fox and all of their assets. This allowed them to change their name to 20th Century Studios, bring the X-Men into the MCU, and just utterly piss on beloved franchises. A reoccurring pattern was taking a classic and releasing a crappy reboot, requel, or spin-off exclusively on Disney+. Home Alone was the first victim of this rampage with Home Sweet Home Alone. If you were wondering, this film wasn't released on Disney Plus because of the pandemic. Despite being feature-length, the movie was always going to come to Disney Plus. Home Sweet Home Alone follows a kid who doesn't know when to shut up named Max Mitchell. Max, as you'd expect, gets left at home by accident when his family leave for vacation. However, before this happened, he was at an open house and made fun of a doll. The couple that owns this doll, named Pam and Jeff, are going through financial troubles. They either have to sell the house or make a payment. They aren't having much luck selling the house. Their home will get taken away if they can't pay before Christmas. While online, Jeff finds out that the doll is worth more than enough money to pay for the house. However, when Jeff goes to grab the doll, it's missing. Jeff assumes that Max stole it. Due to the Mitchells going away for the holidays, Pam and Jeff decide to break into the house in order to get the doll. In terms of connections to the other films, it has more connections than the previous 3 films. There's numerous references to almost every previous movie, with some more on the nose than others.
A McAllister home alarm system.
Quit going!
Max, clean up all this crap right now!
Pick up those micro machines that are all over in there.
Mom! Max, please! You are not the only person in this house, darling!
Why can't I?
Kevin, I'm on the phone.
Maxwell Johann Mercer.
Carol's with Ellen Mercer. No, Kevin, you're what the French call les incompétents.
What the heck are you looking at?
What are you looking at?
Decorate.
No clothes on anybody. Sickening.
Snakes. I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister.
Oh, this is garbage. I don't know why they're always trying to remake the classics. Never as good as the originals.
I tell you what I'm gonna give you, Snakes. I'm gonna give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property.
When I was a kid, my family went on vacation. We forgot my little brother, Kevin. Twice. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
You think I'd be here alone? I don't think so. A kid going into a hotel, making a reservation? I don't think so.
Nice try, Kevin. Nice try. Trout sniffer.
Beat that, you little trout sniffer.
Check it out.
Milk! Hot!
The Eiffel Tower. Really?
Just want to talk.
Off to us.
Heads up!
Giving up yet, or are you thirsty for more?
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Good job, buddy.
Good job, my love.
The music is back, though not in the opening credits. Now's a good time to mention that after Home Alone 3, these movies stopped putting effort into the opening sequences. No cool music, no fanfare, no atmosphere, just a title card and that's it. It's especially weird here because they had the rights to the original music. You could have at least had a cool opening credits sequence. But this is Home Sweet Home Alone. Who wants to put effort into anything? The only character from the previous movies to make an appearance is Buzz McAllister, played by Devin Rattray again. Also, since Kevin isn't in this movie, Devin Rattray and his character have officially appeared in the largest number of Home Alone films. This movie was one of the most hated movies of 2021. Almost nobody on the internet was defending this film without having an asterisk at the end. The main criticism it was receiving was that the villains aren't really villains, making it not fun when they get injured by the traps. Weirdly enough, villains being more likable than the heroes was kind of a reoccurring criticism on Disney+. And, spoiler alert, at the end of the film we find out that Max never took the doll, Jeff's nephew did, meaning that Jeff and Pam's conflict could have been solved with a conversation. Here's one thing that's interesting. In every Home Alone film, there's a character that the main protagonist initially fears, but befriends by the end of the movie. In the first movie, it's Old Man Marley. In the second film, it's the Pigeon Lady. In the third film, it's Mrs. Hess. In the fourth film, it's Prescott. And in the fifth film, it's Snow Girl. I don't remember if she has a name, and I'm pretty sure none of you care. Here, the burglars, and this type of character, are combined into one. But other than that, this movie. Wait a minute, why is the tagline "Holiday Classics are meant to be broken"? Do they not realize how this comes across? Angels with Filthy Souls. Angels with Filthy Souls is the movie Kevin watches in the first film. In Home Alone 2, Kevin watches Angels with Filthier Souls, presumably the sequel. In Disney's Home Sweet Home Alone, this guy watches a sci-fi remake.
I don't know why they're always trying to remake the classics. Never as good as the originals.
Not a single one of these films are actual movies. They're fake movies made for the Home Alone franchise. However, the title is similar to an actual James Cagney movie titled Angels with Dirty Faces. It's fascinating that this iconic line,
"Keep the change, you filthy animal,"
was from a movie within another movie. And the one from the sequel is quoted more often.
"Merry Christmas, you filthy animal."
Chris Columbus. Often mistaken for the guy who's often mistaken with the guy who discovered America, Chris Columbus directed some beloved and not so beloved films from your childhood. This includes the first two Home Alones. He also has a cameo in Home Alone 2 as Man in the Toy Store. John Williams. John Williams is the composer of the music in Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, some of Home Alone 3, and most of Home Alone 6. Before and after Home Alone, he composed music so iconic that I don't even have to tell you what they are. Nostalgia. According to Google, nostalgia is a sentimental longing or wishful affection for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. It can also mean the pain from an old wound. The first one describes how most people feel about Home Alone. I don't know if there's another reason this was on the iceberg. Trump tweet. During his presidency, Donald Trump posted many tweets. One of them was about something that we'll get to later in the iceberg. His take on it was, and I quote, "I guess Justin T doesn't much like my making him pay up on NATO or trade. The movie will never be the same." Just kidding. NES and SNES games. During the 80s and 90s, Nintendo's hottest consoles were the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Nobody calls it that because it's way too long. Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2 got multiple games on the systems. Beyond these consoles, many more games were released based on Home Alone 1 and 2. Bluey poster parody. Bluey is an Australian cartoon about a dog living his life. Multiple poster parodies of popular films have been made with the characters from Bluey. Here's the Home Alone one. The third film. 5 years after Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, a third film was released. The film follows a kid named Alex. While sick at home, Alex sees 4 people robbing a house across the street. Due to no one believing him, Alex must now put a stop to their evil doing. Little does he know that the robbers are actually terrorists, searching for a microchip that can cloak missiles. While I was describing the plot of the third Home Alone movie, one thought was probably in your head. What does any of this have to do with the previous movies? Well, the short answer is this.
Absolutely nothing!
Despite the title, the same location, similar plot beats, the theme in the opening credits, some of the same crew members as last time, and even similar scenes,
Don't move. Harry, don't move.
Alice?
Marv, don't move.
Don't move. Alice?
Marv, what are you doing? Marv.
This movie has fuck all to do with the previous films, or any of the films that came afterwards. Not only are none of the events or characters from the previous films ever mentioned, but it doesn't even take place during the holiday season.
It's January 8th.
The reason for this is that nobody who was in the previous movies wanted to come back. The film did so badly at the box office that every Home Alone film after this wasn't released in theaters. Surprisingly, Roger Ebert loved this film and hated the previous two.
It's totally unrealistic.
Right.
And because it goes into that weird subplot involving the burglars and the booby traps and so forth, it lost my interest.
Yeah.
I voted thumbs down on my review. Gene voted thumbs down on his review. Most critics could really care less about this film, arguing that the movie was too implausible to believe and that no little kid could actually do all of that stuff. I guess maybe that must have been like criticizing West Side Story because it had too much singing and dancing in it.
And then as far as the burglars are concerned, the violence, which is obviously, you're quite right, modeled on all those cartoons with the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. And they use the wide-angle lens to make it seem that things are really coming from a long way down and slamming on top of everyone, is really tough stuff. You know, usually live-action versions of cartoons don't work because when flesh and blood is involved, it's not that funny.
And that goes on and on to the point of nausea. If this movie had a theme song, it would be Dumbbells Keep Falling on My Head. The story makes no sense. I feel for every family that's going to be suckered into seeing Home Alone 3.
Now, this is going to astound you, but I'm giving the movie thumbs up.
It does astound me. Are you okay?
As an additional fun fact, this film has a minor role from Scarlett Johansson before Avengers, before the SpongeBob movie, and before Lost in Translation. Also, every movie after this featured a woman as part of the Thief team. Can you survive Home Alone? Vsauce. Vsauce is a YouTube channel about science. One of the main things it's known for is this iconic line.
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
On December 15th, 2016, Vsauce released a video that has Jake instead of Michael. The video is about the traps in the first Home Alone. The doorknob, the paint cans, and the crowbar are tested. I know the crowbar is not a trap, but he wanted to talk about it anyway. Jake comes to the conclusion that all 3 traps would either kill or severely injure the victim. This video is really well made, and you should check it out. Google Assistant Advert. In 2018, an ad for Google Assistant was aired with Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin plays a grown-up Kevin doing what he did in the movie, this time without hate and with a lot less elbow grease. The ad contains some stock footage, but most of it is new. A few months later, Joe Pesci and his friends reacted to the commercial within another commercial. At the end, Pesci is sad, either because he's now realizing that Macaulay Culkin is now a full-grown man, or because he isn't in any of the new footage. Drivers. Drivers is a web series about the misadventures of a man named Jack. The misadventures all result from using a fictional ride-share app titled Drivers. In the very first episode, Macaulay Culkin is the driver. While it's never said, the driver is implied to be a grown-up Kevin McAllister. Due to Kevin not having a license, Jack and Kevin switch. While Kevin is in the back seat, his mother calls him only for Kevin to send her to voicemail.
Is that your wife?
No, it's my mom.
Jack asks why, prompting Kevin to talk about his childhood.
It's Christmas time. It's f***ing Christmas. And your whole family, right, goes on vacation. Whole family. And they forget their 8-year-old f***ing son. Their 8-year-old son. All by yourself in the house for a week.
And I'm really sorry, man. I did not mean to upset you.
I had to fend off my house from 2 psychopath home invaders.
Eventually, an unnamed male tries to steal the car. In response, Kevin burns his hand with a wire and ties him up. When the attacker comes to, Kevin and Jack are standing in front of him. Jack takes off while Kevin tortures the attacker off screen. Macaulay Culkin has other appearances in this web series, but this one is the most interesting. Detective Pikachu Easter egg. Pokemon Detective Pikachu was the first theatrically released live-action film based on a Nintendo game since the Super Mario Bros. Movie. The film follows a Pokemon trainer-to-be named Tim and a Pikachu, searching for the truth about the death of Tim's father. Before Tim meets Pikachu, he notices that the TV was left on. What's on the TV might look familiar.
Who is it?
Hello?
It's me, Snakes. I got the stuff.
Leave it on the doorstep and get the hell out of here.
All right, Johnny. But what about my money?
Still with the old detective movies?
It's Angels with Filthy Souls, the fake movie Kevin watches in the first Home Alone. I don't know why it's in the movie. The only relation it has is crime. But why pick a movie that isn't real? Especially considering Home Alone and Pokemon have almost no relation. But hey, I don't play Pokemon, so for all I know, Pokemon and Home Alone could be exactly the same. Lego Ideas set. Lego Ideas is a website where you can submit an idea for a Lego set. Your idea has a chance of being picked. One that actually got made was the Home Alone set. The set is expensive and enormous. Remember when the Death Star was the biggest Lego set? There are lots of good breakdowns of it on the internet that you could check out right now. AVGN. AVGN stands for Angry Video Game Nerd. The nerd, played by James Rolfe, is known for playing bad games and having over-the-top reactions to them. One of these episodes, which is also the first one I've ever watched, is titled AVGN Christmas Carol Part 1. Home Alone 2. In the episode, the nerd reviews Home Alone 2 Lost in New York for the NES. After playing, he proclaims his hatred for the game, his hatred for all games, and his hatred for Christmas. He then gets bonked on the head by Double Dragon and sees the ghost of Christmas Past. In Part 2, the ghost shows him his past when he enjoyed games. After this, the ghost of Christmas Present shows up and shows him the present, being the nerd reviewing Shaq Fu. What do you mean that doesn't make sense? The nerd then meets the ghost of Christmas Future. The ghost shows the nerd himself as an old man reviewing Far Cry Vengeance, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, and Boogie, all for the Nintendo Wii. The nerd asks for this to end, only to be shown his grave. But suddenly, the nerd wakes up and finds out that it was all a mere dream. His love of all games is then proclaimed, and he decides to start playing good games, only to get bored and go back to playing bad ones. 11 years later, an episode titled Home Alone Games was released. In the episode, the nerd is visited by somebody else during the Christmas season. Instead of 3 ghosts, it's a pizza boy dropping off a delivery the nerd never ordered. Despite the person making the delivery, the contents of the box are 14 Home Alone games. The nerd is frustrated, but decides to play them, with the pizza boy accompanying him. While playing Home Alone for the Super Nintendo, the nerd discovers that the pizza boy isn't just any pizza boy. He's actually D. Danny Warhol, the pizza boy from Home Alone 1. After having this revelation, they continue playing the game. But once they're finished, Warhol takes the game out and brutally chastises it, claiming that the makers shat on him. The nerd then puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that his guest isn't just an ordinary pizza boy or D. Danny Warhol. He is...
You're... McCulkin!
They then continue playing. After playing Home Alone 2 Lost in New York on the Sega Genesis, Culkin and the nerd grow tired of the games, so they decide to set traps for them, which results in a victory. This was a big deal for Macaulay Culkin since he was actually a fan of this series.
When we were selling your merchandise, I remember Chad yelling at me. He goes, "Hey, come here!" And I go, "What? What do you guys?" He goes, "Look who just ordered nerd DVDs." And oh God, it was Macaulay Culkin, and I was like, "That can't be the Macaulay Culkin. What?" And and I remember like, "What? How did that happen?" Number one, the idea that we're fulfilling this order to Macaulay Culkin. Number two, he knows about the nerd. He actually went to Screw Attack store, and like it was like, what? Oh my God.
Yeah, that was like a mutual connection for a long time. Like I remember Chad called me just to let me know about that, and I was like, well, that's cool. But always in the back of my head, I was just kind of like, well, I mean, I don't know if that's really him or not. Like it could be somebody with the same name, or somebody did it as a joke, or who knows? Like just who knows?
Sure.
But then I'd hear like more than one person, at least 3 people who I knew Macaulay Culkin or had worked with him, and had mentioned that he watches my videos. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome. And then finally, when we made the Home Alone episode happen, it was actually, the idea came, it was my my old roommate, a roommate from 20 years ago who works with him, and said, would you like to do like a Home Alone episode with Mac? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, totally. So whatever he's comfortable with, you know. So yeah, we had him over, and it was so cool because it was just like filming with anybody you know. It was like an old friend almost. It was like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I've been watching you for like a long time. I'm like, yeah, I think I've been watching you for 30 years.
Macaulay had other appearances on Cinemassacre videos, such as this review of Big Trouble in Little China, and this episode of James and Mike Mondays, where they play a game based on another Macaulay Culkin film. Taking Back the House, 4th film, direct to television. In 2002, a 4th Home Alone film was released. This time it was direct to television. The film follows Kevin, played by a different actor, dealing with his parents' divorce. During Christmas vacation, Kevin stays at his father's new wife's house. But Marv and not Harry show up again, this time to kidnap a prince. Kevin now has to put a stop to them and find out who their mole is. Despite most of the previous characters coming back, none of them are played by the same actors. Everybody is younger, and nobody looks like who they're supposed to. Marv is also wearing Harry's clothing for some reason. The music is also gone. It's not even in the opening titles, if you can call them that. I wish the movies kept the music for every film. That would have been a way to make all of these films at least feel like they're in the same universe. This film is regarded as the worst Home Alone film by many. It was so badly received that the TV series that was supposed to spawn from this was cancelled. The Holiday Heist, 5th film, also direct to television. Home Alone: The Holiday Heist was the beginning of this franchise deciding not to use numbers. The film follows a boy named Finn Baxter. Finn is afraid of almost everything, and now he's moving to Maine. In Maine, he has to fight off 3 burglars, led by Malcolm McDowell, and maybe a ghost. Out of all the Home Alone movies that are out there, this one is the least connected to the other films. There are no returning characters, there's little to no references to the other films, and it doesn't even take place in Chicago. However, the music is back. Sort of. However, this film does have a more realistic tone. The jokes aren't as cartoony, the trap-making montage is more toned down, there are some parts that almost make fun of the previous movies.
We're not a bunch of two-bit bandits. We're not gonna be stymied by a slippery walkway.
Wait! Hold up, are you telling me that you're really a 10-year-old who's been left home all by yourself, and now real thieves are trying to break in?
Oh, Dad!
And the movie answers what would actually happen if a kid was left at home by himself. The kid would play until he was bored. Something that I did notice is that this film is similar to one movie that came before and another that came after. Panic Room and Don't Breathe. I'm being serious. All 3 films feature a trio of thieves attempting to rob a house that contains an item in a safe they don't know the location of. The residents of the house are forced to take matters into their own hands in all 3 films. All 3 films have one of the robbers taken out, forcing the other 2 to go on without them.
Everyone in both movies has an interest in not getting the cops involved.
Can we come in?
What do you want?
We'd like to come in.
No, you can't come in.
I've got to call the cops or your parents or like Jack Bauer or something. Where do you live?
I'm sorry, but I'm not supposed to give out that information. You know, stranger danger.
Stranger danger? There are people trying to invade your home.
Gotta go.
I'm pressing the panic button. If I manage to get in range, the system will call 911 and the police will come.
Wait, we can't go to jail.
Panic Room and Home Alone 5 both have 2 of the thieves threaten to kill a girl in the safe during the climax.
If you pull any like that again, I will kill her.
A painting ripped in half can be repaired.
The same.
Cannot be said for little girls.
Empty.
Wow, I don't understand.
Holy cow!
The main leader was revealed to have planned a double cross in both Panic Room and Home Alone 5.
It'll be a perfect reminder sitting on my mantelpiece. Forever.
Wait, are you keeping the painting? How are we all getting paid?
We'll talk about this later.
Hey, I'm talking to you. Answer me.
Okay, fine, there's more.
And when were you gonna tell us this minor economic detail?
Doesn't matter now, it's totally fucking moot. Why are we having this conversation?
What are you thinking? How did you expect to get away with this? Did you think that I was gonna open that safe and then me and Raul were gonna wait downstairs while you picked out your share? What the fuck is the matter with you?
Both Home Alone 5 and Don't Breathe have the main leader ridicule one of the thieves because of a failed attempt at romance.
Against my advice, she got romantically entangled with our last safecracker. Of course, it ended predictably.
Let me give you some advice. Be a good friend and stay in the fucking friend zone, right? Y'all really think just because you jerk off to her Instagram selfies that makes you a Romeo?
And both Don't Breathe and Home Alone 5 have the main residents set up traps. Like 4 and 6, the reception of this movie is pretty bad. Bone Alone / Alone for Christmas. Alone for Christmas, or Bone Alone if you live in the UK, is a film created by the Asylum in 2013. For those unaware, the Asylum is known for making movies that rip off more popular films with their plot and/or poster, the Sharknado films, and just a big bucket of other shark movies.
Look at all these shark movies. Look at all these fucking shark movies.
In Bone Alone, a dog named Columbus is left at a kennel by the dad from Wizards of Waverly Place and his family while they go on a Christmas vacation. Columbus ends up at home and has to fight 3 burglars and Kevin Sorbo. While there's nothing in this movie to say that it's not in the same world as the Home Alone franchise, considering it wasn't made by Fox or Disney, it's most likely not canon. Though Home Alone isn't a particularly unnatural world with specific rules, so you could technically say that any movie fits in this world. Now that I think of it, I'm pretty sure you can say that about almost anything. Fred, Mean Girls, The Batman, Saw, Home Alone, they could all be in the same world and no one would care. Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken is a series on Adult Swim that parodies popular IPs with stop-motion animation. Home Alone was parodied twice. The first time actually had Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister, though at this point Culkin was in his late 20s. This episode presents a hypothetical scenario. What if Kevin accidentally killed himself with all of his traps? The second time was around the time Halloween 2018 was being released. In this episode, Michael Myers and the Wet Bandits switched places. Michael went into Kevin's house, and the Wet Bandits went into Laurie's house. Marv and Harry, unlike Michael in Halloween Kills, are burnt to death. Michael, on the other hand, chokes Kevin to death. PS2 game. In 2006, Blast released a Home Alone game for the PS2, exclusively in Europe. You play as Kevin, or this female Kevin, setting up traps for the Wet Bandits. I think the kid on the cover is Kevin from Home Alone 4. Without even playing the game, you can tell that this was odd. The original Home Alone came out 16 years before this, while Home Alone 4, the most recent one, came out 4 years earlier, and everyone hated it. And to top it all off, the game features no music from the movies. Come on! Who knows why this game even exists? Trump being digitally replaced. As a joke, somebody tweeted out the possibility of digitally replacing Donald Trump with an older Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin actually responded with "sold." The tweet became big news, though I don't think they're being entirely serious. Similar to the meme about replacing Amber Heard with King Shark, it's a joke. That being said, both of these improvements would be funny. As a side topic, somebody actually did digitally replace Donald Trump in this movie with nothing. While on the topic of King Shark replacing Amber Heard, I've got an even better idea. What if Amber Heard was replaced by Sylvester Stallone in a wig? John Hughes post-Home Alone films, outside the sequel. Before John Hughes died, but after Home Alone 1 was released, he was unfortunately known as a has-been. Most of his films, Home Alone or not, were getting worse and worse. At least he still left an impact on culture and the hearts of many. Corridor Crew's R-rated Home Alone. Corridor Crew is a YouTube channel run by visual effects artists. Usually they critique and/or improve a popular film's effects. On this occasion, they made their own cut of Home Alone that's a lot more violent than the original cut. The video is really well made, and you can check it out right now. Saw comparisons. Saw is about a killer nicknamed Jigsaw who puts people who have wronged others in deadly games. According to Jigsaw's ideology, if the player wins the game, they'll learn to appreciate life. But if you've been on this channel long enough, you already know that. Home Alone has been compared to Saw multiple times.
But watch your step.
One day, somebody came up with a theory, stating that Kevin McAllister grew up to be the Jigsaw Killer. The evidence for is that they look kinda similar, they both use traps, and they both use tape recorders. The evidence against is summed up pretty well in a video from last year created by yours truly. Kevin states that he is 10 years old in this movie.
I'm 10 years old.
We can infer from this credit card machine that the film takes place in 1992. In Saw 3 and 4, which take place at the same time as each other, Jigsaw dies. According to this fingerprint sheet, the films take place in 2006. During John Kramer's autopsy, the coroner says he's 52.
Subject's name is John Kramer, a 52-year-old male Caucasian.
So there's no way Kevin went from 10 to 52 in 14 years. And on top of that, in Home Sweet Home Alone, Kevin is revealed to be pranking the police every year.
Listen, when I was a kid, my family went on vacation. We forgot my little brother, Kevin. Twice. He called in the 289 to mess with me. The idiot does it every year.
The date on this phone says Thursday, December 23rd. December 23rd this year will definitely be a Thursday, and this movie does not take place before 2010. And Kevin has to be alive to prank call the police. This theory gained so much popularity that both James Wan, the director of Saw 1, and Macaulay Culkin are aware of it.
I want to know if you've heard any of the conspiracy theories around Home Alone. What if people have said? There's so many like crazy things about it. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's, like...
I've heard some. There's the that I'm Jigsaw. That Kevin McAllister grew up to be Jigsaw from Saw, and that's how he learned.
I never heard that one.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Home Stallone. Home Stallone is a type of parody made by multiple YouTubers. Each one is a deepfake of Home Alone. For those unaware, deepfakes are videos with somebody else's face pasted onto somebody else's body. It can be really creepy. This deepfake was replacing Macaulay Culkin with award-winning action star Sylvester Stallone. The videos are quite funny, if not a little unsettling. Home Stallone is also a really clever pun. Canadian cut. In 2019, Donald Trump's cameo in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York was removed in a Canadian showing on television.
The CBC said it removed the scene back in 2014, years before President Trump even declared his candidacy. The 7-second scene was part of an 8-minute time-saving cut to show the film on TV, a common practice.
The scene is still in the film on subsequent airings and on Disney+. While some were angry about this, including Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump himself, as you may have remembered earlier, didn't really care that much.
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
Dial Code Santa Claus / Deadly Games. Deadly Games, or Dial Code Santa Claus, or Game Over, are the alternate titles for a French film about a kid fending off a killer home invader dressed as Father Christmas. Already this movie isn't similar enough to call it a ripoff of Home Alone, but here's where it gets more interesting. This movie was actually released over a year before Home Alone, though it wasn't released in America until 2018. Now, I doubt John Hughes was trying to rip off this film when writing Home Alone, especially considering tonally they're completely different. Though I haven't seen it, so maybe they're exactly the same. Home Alone 2 mixtape name confusion. 1 week after Home Sweet Home Alone was released, artist D Block Europe released an album titled Home Alone 2. There is no Home Alone 1 album. As far as I can tell, this album has nothing to do with the Home Alone franchise. So who knows why the album has this name? The board game. Home Alone has multiple board games. There's also some card games. Without checking, I can definitely say that the coolest looking one is this mousetrap-like one. Like Mousetrap, you don't want to actually play it. You just want to see it go. Harry Puttar, A Comedy of Terrors. Harry Puttar, A Comedy of Terrors is an Indian film released in 2008. The film follows two cousins who are left at home by accident. They now have to fend off burglars. So this is another Home Alone knockoff, but this time with a similar title as Harry Potter. Warner Brothers attempted to sue due to the Harry Potter connection. However, the director, Munish Piori, just pretend I pronounced that correctly, responded by pointing out that Harry is a common name in India and Puttar is the Punjabi word for son. Either way, the letterbox ratio of this film makes me not want to watch it. Rejected sequel plot. Even though he was the main character, Kevin McAllister didn't appear in any more films after Home Alone 4. The closest we got was a mention in Home Sweet Home Alone.
When I was a kid, my family went on vacation. We forgot my little brother Kevin. Twice. He called in the 289 to mess with me. The idiot does it every year.
Well, originally he was going to return in the scrapped sequel that Chris Columbus thought of. The premise sounds absolutely insane, as it's described in the Home Alone commentary.
The studio rejected my idea of a sequel, which was years, now, you being in jail, coming back to take revenge on Joe and Danny, who live in the suburbs next to each other. And they've got their families. They've gone straight. And you've got your...
That's great.
I see something there, but they, for some reason, the studio just won't go for it.
Crazies.
Now, obviously this is a joke. Or is it? Abode Solo. Abode Solo is a near shot-for-shot, line-for-line remake of Home Alone 1. Similar to Shrek Retold, Raiders of the Lost Ark the adaptation, and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie Rehydrated. If you want to watch it, you can check it out on YouTube right now. At the time I'm making this video, they're working on Abode Solo 2, which is probably going to be out when this video is out. David Unger, Get Back. David Unger is a YouTuber known for making parodies of songs that usually tie into a movie. 1 week late, or 11 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days early, depending on how you want to look at it, he uploaded a video titled Get Back. The music video features clips from Home Alone with his singing face pasted onto everyone. The song is quite catchy. Home Alone 2 is a remake. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, is one of those sequels that is just the same as the original with some differences.
So, you have a Home Alone sequel script for me? Yes, sir, I do, and it only took me like 20 minutes to put together. How is that possible? Well, I just took every single story beat and plot point from the first movie and made them all a little more intense or elaborate.
John Hughes said he could write this on the weekend. I wonder how long it took him to write the second one. Just like a little bit of cut and paste, and boom, you're done. Sequel, bam.
Home Alone 2 is essentially a beat-for-beat remake of the first Home Alone. It just takes place in New York.
To be clear, it's the same exact movie.
Oh, exactly.
It's the exact same movie, but with so much more.
Many people were angered at how much repeating there was, reusing the same jokes, scenarios, even teaching the same lessons that was learned in the original.
Exactly the same.
Now, this in and of itself doesn't automatically make a movie bad. After all, some of those films I showed are actually quite good, because they use a premise that works effectively, they arguably improve upon the original, or they add new elements that change the context of the previous film. But in Home Alone 2's case, the characters kind of just forget what they learned in the first film and learn it again.
This house is so full of people, it makes me sick. When I grow up and get married, I'm living alone. Did you hear me? I'm living alone! I can't trust anybody in this family. And you know what? If I had my own money, I'd go on my own vacation, alone, without any of you guys. And I'd have the most fun in my whole life.
Stoned Alone. A parody trailer titled Stoned Alone was released in 2012 on YouTube. The plot is similar to the actual Home Alone, but instead of a family leaving a child behind, a bunch of stoners leave their roommate behind. It's pretty amusing and you can watch it right now. Stoned Alone was announced for real in 2018. The film was said to be an R-rated Home Alone parody set to be produced by Ryan Reynolds. The plot would be pretty similar to the viral video. A paranoid stoner gets left behind by his friends when they go on Christmas vacation, and then he has to fend off burglars. While I couldn't find a source confirming the status of Stoned Alone, I doubt Disney will ever finish it. As a side note, Chris Columbus once called this movie an insult to the art of cinema. The Wet Bandits are Christmas spirits. On October 6th, 2015, Reddit user u/SumoJoe posted a theory. The theory states that Marv and Harry from Home Alone are immortal Christmas spirits. The evidence for this is that whenever Kevin stops appreciating his family, they show up. Them being immortal spirits would also explain how they survived all the traps. The main holes in the theory is that whenever the Wet Bandits talk about Kevin, it's always in a negative light. They never even seem to pretend like they want to help him. And whenever they first meet Kevin in the movies, it's always a surprise to them.
I think we're getting scammed by a kindergartner. Hey, look who it is, Marv.
You! Hello, Marv.
What? Long time no see, huh, kid?
The original cut. My best guess as to what this is referring to is the deleted scenes from Home Alone 1. I'll go through each one in order shown in these two videos on YouTube, uploaded by Luke Finch. The first deleted scene is titled Undercover Crook. At this moment, Harry is still casing the McAllister residence. Harry asks Leslie if she's the owner of the house. She says no. Then Peter comes downstairs, and the scene plays out similar to how it does in the final cut. In this version, Peter informs the pizza boy that Kate has all the cash. Harry also informs the pizza boy that you could get arrested for interrupting. The pizza boy tells Harry that his house is nearby and offers to take him there for inspection. The second deleted scene is titled Criminal Decency. Harry and Marv discuss how Christmas has evolved over the years. We also learned that Harry hates Christmas. The third deleted scene is called Do You Speak French? This version is pretty similar to the final scene. The main difference is some alternate takes, alternate lines, new lines, a different order of events, and this really obvious ADR.
Hey you, punk. Sur le floor.
Is that even the same actor? The fourth deleted scene was named A Very Hairy Christmas. Taking place after Kevin disguised himself as one of the wise men, Harry is wondering where Kevin went. Marv then tells Harry that they shouldn't be following a child in a white van. They then sing a parody of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. This is most likely a coincidence, but this part kind of reminds me of Goodfellas.
What did you mean about that I had an edge before? Huh? What did you mean that I had an edge?
What do you mean I'm funny? It's funny, you know. It's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
What do you mean? You mean the way I talk? What?
It's just, you know, you're just funny. It's funny, you know, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how?
The fifth deleted scene is Marv's Christmas coffee. The scene is similar to A Very Hairy Christmas, but this time, instead of performing a Weird Al parody, they drink shitty coffee. The sixth deleted scene is titled Sleepless in Paris. This scene starts with Kevin brushing his teeth and watching Johnny Carson. We then cut to the McAllisters in Paris. Everyone, except Buzz, is unable to sleep because they know Kevin is alone and helpless. The seventh deleted scene is Christmas is about ... In the scene, Linny and Peter McAllister can't sleep due to Kevin being left behind. Linny says that family shouldn't be apart on Christmas because that defeats the purpose of Christmas. The eighth deleted scene is called The Silent Treatment. Just like the final cut, Marv asks the children where they're going.
Where you going away? Vacation? Where you going? Disney World? Disneyland?
This was years before Disney owned Home Alone. When the pizza boy arrives, he tells the children that they're his witness for being at the house within 30 minutes or less. The ninth deleted scene is Buzz Off. As you'd expect, this scene involves Buzz. He states that when he gets evidence on Old Man Marley, he'll turn him into the FBI in exchange for money. Buzz then tells Kevin that if he doesn't leave his room, he'll nail him to Marley's front door and ring the doorbell. The 10th and most infamous deleted scene is called Frank's Yank.
You know what they're gonna call you in France, don't you, huh?
No.
Yank!
The 11th deleted scene is called Hungry Alone. Before realizing that his family is gone, Kevin asks for food, only for no one to answer. And he doesn't remember the food groups! The 12th deleted scene was named The Figurine's Final Judgment. It's nearly identical to the final scene, but this time Kevin actually says something.
For the crime of belonging to my rashy brother and allowing yourself to be displayed in this pigsty he calls his room, I sentence you to death by BB wounds and falling all the way down the laundry chute to the basement, where you'll get massive head injuries and die instantly or on arrival.
The 13th deleted scene is titled Close Encounters of the Marley Kind. Right after sledding down the stairs, Kevin has an encounter with Marley. On this occasion, he doesn't scream. The 14th deleted scene is titled Hello, Goodbye. In this scene, relatives of the McAllisters are holding up a sign saying, Joyeux Noël, welcome to Paris. Joyeux Noël means Happy Christmas, if you were wondering. The McAllisters then rip right through the sign. You can actually see the people holding the sign in the final cut. The 15th and final deleted scene is called A Savvy Shopper. While shopping, Kevin asks where the fabric softener is. He's told that it's in aisle 2. Kevin was the real villain. This is referring to a statement people claim about the Home Alone films. Due to Kevin being mean to most of his family and attacking the Wet Bandits with incredibly dangerous traps, some believe that Kevin McAllister is the real villain. While Kevin does go too far sometimes, nearly everything bad he does is a result of another bad thing happening to him. Now, this doesn't justify Kevin's actions, but it definitely doesn't make him the villain either. Before we end this video, I'm going to add some things that I think True Medium Eye should have included. Macaulay Culkin's finger. When the Wet Bandits corner Kevin near the end of the first Home Alone, Marv states that he will bite off all of his fingers. In one of the takes, actor Joe Pesci bit Macaulay Culkin harder than he was supposed to, leaving a permanent scar on his finger.
My first memory, gosh, I don't even, I still show this, I have a scar on my finger. We'll get to that part near the end. When, you know, he says, you know, I'm going to bite each one of your fingers off one at a time, and during rehearsal, he actually bit my finger a little harder than I think he thought he did, and I still have a little scar on my finger. It's my little Joe Pesci tooth mark.
I'm telling you something, I believe, and I know Joe would probably get a little upset with me about this, but there's a little professional jealousy from a lot of the actors on the set because you were the star. There's this little kid who was the star, who we were all paying an enormous amount of attention to, who was carrying the film, and there was a lot of passive-aggressive stuff going on, and I don't think Joe meant to bite through your fingers.
But heck, you know, you never know.
He was not particularly happy during the course of making this film, and I think he would probably say the same thing.
Chase Freedom Unlimited commercial. In 2021, a commercial aired starring Catherine O'Hara as Kate McAllister. The ad begins with Kate McAllister in a shop. Kate realizes she lost Kevin and begins frantically searching for him. It is then revealed that she wasn't looking for Kevin McAllister. She was looking for Kevin Hart. Hart informs Kate that he was busy cash backing for the holidays with Chase Freedom Unlimited. He then tells Kate that it's hard to believe she lost another Kevin. Daniel Stern video. On Christmas Eve of 2015, actor Daniel Stern, aka Marv, uploaded a video. The video is meant to be an unofficial sequel to Macaulay Culkin's appearance on Drivers. In the video, Marv, presumably on parole, is begging for Harry to come and help him. Marv states that he saw a video of Kevin torturing a home invader. He fears that Kevin is coming for him and every other home invader. Then Marv hears something, and the video cuts to black. The last we hear is Marv screaming and a door closing. What we're listening to is likely Kevin murdering Marv. The scream used is actually from the first movie. Elvis! So, somebody came up with a theory stating that this guy behind Kate McAllister is rock star sensation Elvis Aaron Presley. And I don't mean that he's Elvis within the Home Alone cinematic universe. I mean that somebody out there believed that this guy was played by the king himself, Elvis f***ing Presley.
There's also the Elvis one.
This one, I gotta say, I checked it out, and it's pretty much
That's
real.
one of the earliest ones.
They said Elvis is actually in the movie as an extra at Home Alone, and if you see the scene where Captain O'Hara's at the airport trying to change her tickets, her plane tickets, look at this. Tell me this doesn't look like...
Totally Elvis, right?
Yeah, man, it's like, at that point, that's probably what he would wear, like a turtleneck and a blazer. It makes total sense to me.
I didn't realize Elvis turned into Richard Karn.
If you were wondering, Elvis died in 1977. Eventually, another person looked into it and found out that this man is actually an actor named Gary Grott. And that was The Iceberg. At the time I'm recording this, it is Sunday, June 19th, 4:57 p.m. So, nowhere near Christmas. Who knows what crazy thing happened in between now and whenever this video is going to get uploaded. Thanks to me, you now know more about the Home Alone series than you probably should. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and Merry Christmas.